reading few of your articles. You have written largely to large extent on sexual harassment. Tell me, sexual harassment is actually a
Last one was sexual harassment.
it
Yes,
is a fact, the corporate world cannot actually, cannot
of
deny it,
course.
and it has been happening, and it happens with both the sexes, in fact, with females also, and as well as with males also. But tell me, when you are dealing in such kind of, cases, and when when you have a set of, inquiry you are doing inquiries and all, in this kind of scenario, wherein you are not empowered to large extent, do you really feel that an HR person or the company that has a sexual harassment cell, does actually do a real job?
First I would like to say that you very rightly said that sexual harassment is not gender bias. So it's not about only women, but unfortunately it's only the women thing which come across, and there is a huge taboo on whether to hire women or not. Now men also think 100 times. I have myself, I'm on at least on 20 companies on the POSH committees, and I see how men are very apprehensive to talk to a lady, even in a in a closed room kind of environment. They would always want to tag along another lady with you. I don't know for what alibi, but that's the kind of environment we are creating. So coming back to POSH, I think prevention of sexual harassment, I think all organizations largely go by the Vishaka guidelines, and there is a committee formed, and whenever there is a complaint made, it goes through the formal inquiry system, and you kind of go through the inquiry as the guidelines are. I would like to point out one thing here, and we have had a few corporate incidences. Unfortunately, the bias, sexual harassment bias, is also a little tilted towards this. The moment a lady complains, all fingers go to the man. Uh,
Exactly.
as much as when the lady complains, nobody is there to support her. Similarly, when there is a complaint without an inquiry, the entire blame goes on the man. And I think we have had issues where men without being proven guilty, have been subjected to punishments like the social distancing and already giving a judgment. I think that is what organizations as a whole should avoid. So one is, whenever there is a complaint, it needs to be handled and similarly, I mean, parallelly, I think women also who come and speak, it takes a lot to come and speak about a harassment. So not everybody and anybody can come out and speak about a harassment, knowing that it could jeopardize her career, her personal front, and her overall image, because a girl's image is far more frugal than anybody else's. So it's both side of the coin, and hence organizations, I mean, while the guidelines etc. are all in place, and you know what to do and how to handle an inquiry, but the most important thing is, how do you handle the entire communication from the time the complaint is made, on how watertight you are in terms of till the inquiry happens, not to get the result out, and not to make sure that any of them are like overwhelmed with any kind of thing or intimidated. It's that is what is extremely crucial. You don't feel so I don't think handling an inquiry is a big deal,
But Sagarika,
because
Ji, Ji.
so I think the most critical part is how you handle the entire thing, and how you kind of, then what happens. I have had instances where both are at fault. In a harassment issue, it's both who have done something which is not right. But there has been organizations which don't want to do much on women, because they feel that can we kind of let the lady stay and let the man go. There have also been instances where the man is extremely powerful, and you cannot really do much about the business, depends on the guy, and you want to be a little lenient on that fellow. So I think those are the kind of pressures which come, but I'm sure there is an answer to everything.
Coming on to judgment part of of POSH, generally what happens is that in the case when it's an inquiry against male, generally the decision is that he's shown the doors, he's given the exit. Whereas let's be very honest in this case, and man is it could be momentary also. He was under some influence. It was a momentary that he took a man took an extreme step of harassing a women, and that was not his nature. But giving a treatment of showing the door or exit door, what actually happens is that this bar says entire corporate life. I had seen so many people, so many promising guys, in the industry. They were given a very rough treatment just for one single incident. No doubt it is a wrong incident, right? It should not happen in life. But even, don't you think that there can be other treatments also, other judgments also, like stopping the increments, downgrading his seniority, relegating to a certain 2 3 down steps, 2 3 positions. But at least giving showing the doors. What happens is that that finishes his entire career.
Showing the door is the easiest for a corporate to do, because the corporation has done his or her job, and they are out of it. You rightly said that showing a door to a person is mars his entire career, and that is what it is very important for men and women at corporate places to be very, no matter where you are influenced, how you are done, you can never cross a line. That is that is why the guidelines have come in place. So you cannot say that it was momentarily affection that I went ahead and harassed somebody. So so I think that is what is very important, and probably that's why this way of showing the door. I am aware of a lot of people who have been shown a door and still doing very well in corporate life, because the other organization didn't mind taking him up and continuing with him. There is I don't want to name that person, but there was a big entrepreneur who went from one company, sacked on sexual harassment, went on to another and did the same thing. I think he didn't get the third chance, because or he might get a third chance. It's not yet reported. So it it also happens like that. So I think somewhere you have to draw a line, and I think corporate ethics and corporate etiquettes also say that you really can't cross that line, whether it is a man or a woman. I think where I remember, Jitu, when we used to work together, if you remember, all men and I was the only lady. And we used to talk everything under the sun, about discussing things, and we were as good as buddies. But I never felt harassed, and that's the difference. I never felt like any of them were making me feel harassed about it. I have even called up their wives and spoken things, and it was a very different kind of environment. I think that is what is the crux, that you cannot really break that line or bridge that line without the lady's consent or a man's consent. I will not say only the lady's consent, but even the man's consent. I think there are a lot of women also now getting entrepreneurial and harassing men, but still the numbers are skewed. So whenever we talk of sexual harassment, unfortunately, it's only the men.
So I think it's also important in terms of how you build the culture in the organization. Okay, and
of course,
largely driven by the CXO and the HR together. So I mean, when we worked together, there was a culture which allowed us to be very, very friendly and very casual with each other without actually crossing the line. So I think it depends largely on the culture which gets created around in the organization.
Culture and the camaraderie you have amongst the teams. I think that is what is important. And I would not say that in good harmonious teams sexual harassments don't happen, but I think it is then two adults, and then the organization deals with it differently. So I think that is what is more important, and how you deal with it. It is very important. And me as an HR person, I'm always at a spot, because sometimes both the sides of the story. But you still have to go through that inquiry to see how things are. And I see how sometimes, and I'm going on record saying that I see how sometimes men give preference to a woman's word in many cases. But there are some which is far more logical, and they deal with things in a very systematic manner and make sure that things are not taken lightly.